Hello everybody. So I just wanted to go over a couple application problems because they're going to come up on your test. And I really want us to focus on Part C and all these questions because Part C is really what this is all about. So I'll just read the problem real fast. If you want to, you can just pause it and write it down or something like that and then unpause the video. But the equation P equals 28 plus 2.5 for W models the relation between the amount of Randy's monthly water bill payment, which is labeled in P in dollars, and the number of units of water used. So part A says find the payments for a month when Randy used 0 units of water. So for part A here, let me get out a better marker here. So part A, I'm just going to rewrite the equation. And except, instead of putting W, I'm just going to put parentheses because they're telling us here that we want to figure out how much the payment is with 0 units of water, okay? So I'm just going to substitute in 0, and we find out that this is going to be 28, okay? So part A is pretty simple, it's straightforward. Part B is also pretty straightforward. So part B says, find the payment for a month when Randy used 15 units of water. All right, so it's going to be set up just like the previous problem. Except in this situation here, I'm going to substitute in 15. Let me get out a little calculator here. It's gonna make our lives a little bit easier. All right, so there's our calculator, and I'll pin it so it's always on the screen for us. So let's do the multiplication first. So 2.54 times 15. That's gonna give us 38.1. And then I'm just going to add these two numbers together. And that's going to give us our payment, which is equal to 66.1. Or if we're thinking about these in terms of dollars, part A is going to be $28. Part B is going to be $66.10. Okay, now, part C, this is like everything that we're really building up to here. So part C wants us to interpret the slope and the P-intercept of the equation. And the P-intercept we can think of as just the Y-intercept, okay? So let me interpret the slope here for us first. So the slope is going to equal 2.54 over 1. Now, remember, slope is always defined as a change in Y. Well, in this case, we're not using the letter Y, we're using the letter P. So this is going to be a change in P divided by a change in X. However, X in this situation is not really X. It's going to be the letter W for water, okay? So if you want to, you can actually write this out because I think it'll make a lot more sense. Change in payment over your change in water. And since our slope is positive, what we can say here is this. For each additional 1 unit of water, what is his name again? Is it Paul? No, it's Randy. Randy's payment will increase because it's a positive value. So it will increase by $2.54. And that is how we interpret the slope. And it's, I mean, you can always word it different ways, but the idea behind it is if it's a positive number, you're going to have an increase, and if it's a negative number, you're going to have a decrease. And you're looking at the relationship between the two variables. In this case, the variables are water and payment, and the relationship is basically the more water you use, the higher the payment's going to be. Now, if we want to interpret the R-intercept, well, in part A, we actually found that because, remember, at the R-intercept, I'm just going to write out the words here. At the R-intercept, that variable, in this case it happens to be water, will always be 0. So our point, our intercept is going to be 0, comma, I forget what it is already, 28. And how do we interpret this? Well, this is interpreted. If Randy uses 0 units of water, Randy will still owe $28 for a payment. Okay? And you can think of that as like a service fee. So no matter what, if you use 100 units of water or 0 units of water, that $28 is always going to be added into the bill. Like I said, you can just consider it a service fee. So I'm going to do another example here, and it's going to be basically set up the same way. Oh, wait, did I forget to do something? Part A, Part B, is there a D? Oh, there's D. Yeah, we got to graph the equation here. So I'm going to go ahead and graph this equation, and I'm going to use this website right here, and I've used this before. I highly recommend that you use this. It's free, and it's easy. You can download Desmos to your phone or your tablet. All right, so just give me a second here. I'm going to open up the internet machine. I'm going to unpin that for now so I can hide it. I'm going to click on Desmos. And the only thing with Desmos is it's not going to recognize R and W for the variables, so you're going to have to use Y and X. But we have our equation, Y equals 28 plus 2.54X. Well, that would be great if it was actually typing here for me. Oh, I'm using the wrong keyboard, that's why. What a dummy. Y equals 28 plus 2.54X. Okay, and all I'm going to do is just go ahead and just zoom out here a little bit just so we can see what we have here. All right, so notice it's a straight line. And let's go ahead and plot our points. In other words, let's plot parts A and B just to see if we're correct. Okay, so part A, we found the point 0, comma, 28. And I'm going to click on the label button. Perfect. So there's our point labeled. And then the second point was 15, comma, 66.1. And notice that green dot, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to change it to blue, is right on that line. And that's exactly where we would expect it to be. All right. So here's our graph. What I will do here is I'm just going to copy and paste this into the notes so you can refer to it. In the video, you can just look at it. All right, so let's just do this real fast. Here we go. That'll work. And I'll just paste it in here. And there we go. Perfect, pretty graph. I love it. All right, so let's move on to the next problem. All right, so the next problem here is Sherry, I think that's how you pronounce it. Sherry works in retail, and her weekly salary includes commission for the amount she sells. The equation S equals 400 plus 0.15C models the relation between her weekly salary S in dollars and the amount of her sales C in dollars. So part A, let's find Sherry's salary for a week when her sales are 0. So if you think about this and you look at the previous problem, it's the same. It's basically the same setup. So part A is going to be S equals 400 plus 0.15. Now, they're telling us that our sale, for Sherry's salary for a week when her sales were 0, okay? So we're going to put a 0 here. So 0 sales, we'll get Sherry a salary of $400. Part B, find Sherry's salary for a week when her sales were $3,600. So S equals 400 plus 0.15. Put parentheses first, then make your substitution. So now I'm going to need that calculator again. And we're going to have, let me clear it out, 0.15 times 3,600. and that's going to give me 540. So S equals 400 plus 540 for a grand total of $940. So there's part A, and there's part B. Now, part C, we're going to have to interpret this again. So for the slope, well, our slope is a positive value. It's 0.15 over 1. And remember, the numerator will be, in this case, change in salary. And the denominator will be change in sales, okay? And when we go ahead and we just write a statement about this, we're going to say for each additional $1 in sales. I forget how to spell Sherry's name. I was right. Sherry's salary will increase by $0.15, which is really just 15 cents. And there's our slope. So for each additional $1 in sales, Sherry's salary will increase by 15 cents. Now, part D, once again, they just want us to graph this. So I'm going to go back to Desmos real quick, and we're just going to get rid of this. Let me minimize my calculator. And we're going to type in the linear equation, y equals 400 plus 0.15x. And I'm really going to have to zoom out of here. So what I'm going to do is just change some of this stuff. And you don't have to know how to do this. But what I'm doing here is if you look what I did, I think I'm moving too fast. Let me slow down. On the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see a little tool, like a little wrench. Click on the wrench, and it opens up your graph settings. I really wouldn't mess with any of the stuff right here in this box, but underneath you can see it says x-axis. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from 0 to and you could basically choose any value, but the value that they wanted us to do. So let me go back here real quick. Was 3,600. I was making sure. So I'm going to make this 0 to 4,000. And the reason why I did that is because that's where I know my values that I substituted in, parts A and B, was 0 and 3,600. So I just kind of just put this where I need it. Now, my y-axis, all right, I'm going to make this 0. And I'm going to go ahead and make this something along the lines of, we'll say 700 for now. Okay? And all I got to do is just click on graph settings again, and it goes away. So then I just kind of move it out a little bit. And if we wanted to, we can go ahead and we can type in our point. So our first point was 0, 400. And we'll go ahead and label it. The second point was 3,600, comma, oh, and I already forgot it. What was it? 3,600, 940, okay? Now, if our math is correct, when I type in 940 for this second part of the point, it should be on that line. Label it. Let me change it to black. And if you remember, over here in my graph settings, I made it 700, which I zoomed out a little bit. Let's just make it 1,000. All right, and there's my point right there in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. It is on that line. And that, like I said, is what this is all about. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this into our notes. All right. Every single problem that you do when you interpret slope is done the same way. Basically, you're going to keep the words for each additional, okay? And then you're going to write, and I'm going to color code this for us here. You're going to write whatever this is, all right? So for each additional $1 in sales, okay? Sherry's salary will, so let me go ahead and color code some more. Now, this is going to change, this Sherry's salary, okay? Because that's what the variable is, and it's usually just like a person or something like that. But this right here in blue, and I'm going to come underneath, I'm going to write in red. It's going to be one of two words. It's either going to be increase or decrease. If your slope is positive, you're increasing. If your slope is negative, you're decreasing. And then the last thing is going to be this, which is your change in salary. Okay? So if you just follow this little trend, you will always be able to make a nice statement about the slope just by understanding how slope is actually calculated and then how do we interpret it. Remember, slope is a rate of change. We're concerned with how fast is one variable changing when another variable is changing. As Sherry's sales increase, what's her salary looking like? If the sales change, her salary will change as well. So that's going to be it for this video. It's a short one. Good luck. I know you got a test, and there are like 4 questions that deal with exactly what we're talking about here. So just be careful with this, okay? And I'll see you in chapter, 5? Yeah, chapter 5. Later.